Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the final chapters of My Life with the Spirits. I've got a couple of paintings by Constance. There we go, up this morning. Uh, those are some of her favorites. The, a quote from St. Francis: "Joy is the greatest cleanser." That's her Bon Ami. There, Bon Ami. And I broadcast only love. So those are a couple of her paintings that are up. Uh, uh, Thank you guys very much for showing up every morning at 10 o'clock my time to humor me as I read through in short installments of my book, My Life with the Spirits. We're going to finish it up today, and I've been encouraged by many of you to continue with our morning meetings, and I want to do it too. So uh, I sort of put it out there what many of you would like to hear next, and the overwhelming response was for me to continue with starting to read the Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. I mentioned it's a little bit uh, challenging because there's so many graphs and charts and things like that. Uh, so I'm actually encouraging you to get a copy of this. It's also on Kindle uh, because it is one of my favorite books, and it's actually volume one of two volumes. And there's the Son of Chicken Kabbalah too. So if you're shopping, I would I would get both of them because they'll go together so well, and uh, it's sort of like the Kabbalah in theory and Kabbalah in practice kind of set. So, without further ado, uh, I'm going to finish up with chapter 27. How to end an autobiography without dying. And now I'm faced with the awkward task of ending an autobiography while still alive. I certainly do not intend to die anytime soon, just to prove and provide a clean ending. But as I conclude this little book, it might not be a bad idea to pause for a moment to ponder that undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, and share with you my thoughts on death. Do I believe in an afterlife? Do I believe in karma and reincarnation? Do I believe in heaven or hell? Am I afraid to die? The answer to all these questions is a qualified yes. On the other hand, if you ask me if I believe that when I die, I'll be hauled into some celestial courtroom to appear before the God of judgment, who will convict me on evidence of my failure in life to sacrifice my intelligence and common sense in order to believe unquestioningly in a particular cult's interpretation of the details surrounding an historical or mythological event, or my inability or disinclination to submit to a particular collection of ancient superstitions and tribal taboos, then my answer is an unqualified no. I'm perpetually amazed that stable, intelligent people with driver's licenses and college degrees, people who can finish the New York Times crossword puzzle and run huge corporations, people who otherwise display the most superior powers of intelligence and insight, can actually look at me in the eye and tell me in deadly earnest that they believe that all human beings have been cursed by the creator of the universe because of the very fact that they were born. That, because we are already guilty of committing life, the creator has condemned us to eternal torture after we die. That we can plea bargain ourselves out of this fate by perfectly surrendering to certain mental and behavioral parameters that are outlined in a book composed of 66 chapters written over a period of hundreds of years by an unknown number of authors in an assortment of languages, an unerring book that has been translated scores of times by individuals employed by intensely biased institutions, that after we die, our corpses at some unspecified date in the future will reanimate like zombies and fly up from our graves and hover in the sky at the side of our deity, who, sitting on a flying horse, will slaughter 1/3 of the population of the planet. Afterwards, this same deity will preside over the ultimate kangaroo court in the clouds and issue one-way tickets to the lake of fire to all the newly murdered and all others who in life did not unquestionably believe that this was the only spiritual game plan in town. I'm sorry, my friends, I cannot see how blindly accepting the above doctrine, or any of 100 others just as ludicrous, could possibly be good for one's mental health. As a matter of fact, it appears obvious to me that in order for a rational, intelligent person to subscribe to such silliness and still live a relatively normal life, he or she must set aside a small corner of the brain devoted exclusively to religious mental illness, and visit that area as infrequently as possible. This doesn't mean that I think that individuals who fervently believe in a specific after-death scenario do not experience their expectations in the mysterious, timeless moments of the death coma. On the contrary, I think it's highly likely that one's visions at the moment of death mirror, in perhaps nightmarish detail, the crystallized reality of whatever spiritual worldview has captured and enslaved the decedent's imagination in life. For this reason, I'm particularly saddened when I think of the untold millions of my fellow human beings who have exited this plane of existence, still harboring torturous doubts as their worthiness to pass such an impossible judgment. Shouldn't religions be satisfied with terrorizing their devotees into social and economic obedience during life? Is it really necessary to demand from these poor souls one last act of tragic self-condemnation, insidiously designed to trigger horrifying visions and unspeakable terror during the death experience? In 1954, I was 6 years old, and I loved to listen to the radio. That year, one of my favorite songs was Rosemary Clooney's "This Old House." The refrain went something like, "Ain't a gonna need this house no longer, ain't a gonna need this house no more, ain't got time to fix the shingles, ain't got time to fix the floor, ain't got time to oil the hinges nor mend the window pane. Ain't a gonna need this house no longer. I'm getting ready to meet the saints." It's a perky little tune, and I didn't give the words much thought until my mother was sensitive enough to point out that the house in the song was really somebody's body and that they were singing about getting ready to die. From then on, the song gave me the creeps. And I never sang it again. I can't stand the song, but it makes a very good point. We are not bodies possessing souls. We are souls inhabiting bodies. For thousands of years, the great Osirian religion of ancient Egypt impressed upon devotees an image of a resurrected body as the key to overcoming death. Changing only a few names and images, Christianity inherited the Osirian formula and has perpetuated it through the 20th century and now 21st. The Osirian formula is based on the incorrect assumption that the sun is born and dies every day and teeters toward extinction every winter. The identity of the Osirian devotee was centered in earth, an earth that just sits in place, a helpless spectator of the sun's birth and death. And this is precisely the role played by pious Christians, who can only hope to overcome death by riding the magical coattails of Christ's death and resurrection, a body hoping to come to life again. Times have changed. We know now that the sun does not die. Neither does it need a magical resurrection. Shouldn't it be logical that the next step in spiritual evolution should be to harmonize with our most recent understanding of reality? It's not so hard to move our identity from the earth to the sun. The sun is on all the time. We are on all the time. There is no life after death, only life. I knew it as an infant. That's why I could never picture myself off. The solution to my crib meditation is the simple fact that there is no off. The body is bound to wear out. Sooner or later, there won't be time to fix the shingles, won't be time to fix the floor. Is it such a catastrophe to leave a house that is falling apart? Perhaps the vision I received when I was hypnotically regressed in college and the vision of the Enochian spirit EHNB were not pictures of an actual event, but an allegory of all death experiences. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if one day when I'm incredibly old and trying to recover from a long afternoon of flamenco dancing and unbridled sex, I close my eyes and find myself standing on the roof of my house. In front of me, I see a wire strung tightly to the house across the street. I hear my friends laughing. Once again, the sum total of my life's momentum urges me on toward new experiences, urges me on to the narrow wire that joins this old house, to the new one just across the street. And that's the end of the last chapter, but there is an epilogue, and I'm going to read the epilogue. It just says, "Holy man?" Question mark. I turned 50 on Saturday, so this was 22 years ago. So I turned 50 on Saturday. I spent the morning writing and the afternoon made a half-hearted attempt to clean up my office. Constance, bless her heart, spent the whole day getting our home ready for an invasion of out-of-town guests who will be arriving in a few days to take their OTO fifth degree. Last night, my Monday night magic class marked my half-centennial with homemade ice cream and cream puffs. There was much laughter and wonderful cards and gifts. I can't deny it. I'm a very lucky man. I'm surrounded by good spirits. Now that I think about it, I've always been surrounded by good spirits. Spirits who execute their various charges on my behalf through the human vehicles of friends, family, business associates, and even strangers. By the same token, it's clear that I'm also surrounded by evil spirits who tirelessly work with diabolical tenacity to effect my ultimate undoing. Ironically, these devils also manifest through the human vehicles of friends, family, business associates, and complete strangers. Now, please don't think that I'm so presumptuous as to actually believe that these people are actually possessed with objective entities that are the angels or demons of Lon Milo DuQuette. On the contrary, it's painfully obvious to me that all the spirits are my own children, creatures of my unique and personal magical universe. Everyone else on the planet has their own magical universe. And I'm sure there are a great many people for whom Lon Milo DuQuette assumes the role from time to time of good or evil spirit. I continue to do my best to identify and capture my evil spirits and direct their destructive energy toward constructive ends. It's the magician's great work. It's my spiritual occupation. Sometimes I succeed, and sometimes I fail. Eliphas Levi put it perfectly in a stanza from his poem, The Magician. Their faces and their shapes are terrible and strange. These devils, by my might to angels I will change. These nameless horrors I address without affright. On them will I impose my will, the law of light. At the beginning of this book, I acknowledged without apology that I have scorned and rejected the faith of my fathers, that I invoke and worship strange and terrible gods, that I summon devils and hold congress with angels, spirits, and demons. I also ask whether or not these pursuits disqualify me for a place in the august fellowship of the holy ones. I guess the only person who can answer that question is truly yours. Do I think I'm a holy man? Sometimes. And there's a picture that closes with a picture of Constance and I celebrating Mass in around the year probably 1985. No, excuse me, about 1980, I think. Anyway, that's the end of my life with the spirits. And I hope that we're all together tomorrow at the same time. And we'll start the Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford. Until then, be good to yourself. Be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love, love under will.